Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you a question. What's the first thing you do when you wake up? Is it checking your phone? Is it scrolling through distractions? Or is it commanding your day with clarity, purpose, and power? Because let me tell you something. Your morning is your master key. It's not just the start of your day. It's the start of your results. The habits you perform in that first hour don't just set the tone. They set the thermostat for everything that follows. See, I teach business and biblical success principles, and what I've found, whether it's in scripture or strategy, is this: firsts always matter. The first word, the first seed, the first step, and your first hour. That's a sacred zone. If you wake up and react to life, you're already behind. But if you wake up and respond with ritual, now you're building momentum. You're not just hoping to have a good day, you're engineering one. When I coach clients, I don't just ask, what are your business goals? I ask, what's your morning routine? Because here's the truth. Your income rarely exceeds your structure, and structure starts in the morning. Wake up with gratitude. Before you move your body, move your spirit. Align with something higher than yourself. Then feed your mind. Read, speak affirmations, review your goals. Then move your body. Because when the body is in motion, the brain is in production. Then plan, not just your tasks but your targets. Ask yourself, what's the one thing I must accomplish today to move the needle forward? That one question can shift your whole output. Success is not an event. It's a repeated encounter with routine. The Bible says, he who is faithful in little will be faithful in much. If you can't manage the first hour, how can you manage the harvest? The world is waiting for your purpose. Your family is waiting for your clarity. Your vision is waiting for your discipline. And it all starts, not with hustle, not with grind, but with ritual, with a structure, with a decision to own the morning. If you want power, stop praying for it and start preparing for it. Build a routine that builds you. Because when you win the morning, you don't just win the day. You win the destiny. When we talk about a successful life, whether in business, relationships, or spiritual purpose, we have to start with one of the most overlooked principles: how you start your day. Your morning is not just a routine, it is your master key. A master key has the ability to unlock every door in a building, and likewise, your morning has the potential to unlock every possibility in your life. If you waste the morning, you often waste the momentum. And if you miss the momentum, you delay your mission. So, I want you to see the morning not as just a segment of time, but as a seed, one that determines your harvest for the entire day. Now, most people think success starts with massive action. That's a lie. Success starts with massive intention, and that begins the moment you open your eyes. You're either stepping into your day with purpose, or you're stumbling into it with pressure. See, the wealthy, the disciplined, the impactful, they don't just wake up early. They wake up intentionally. There's a big difference. Getting up at 5 a.m. means nothing if you don't know what you're getting up for. Intentionality is the difference between being busy and being productive, between motion and progress. When I say the morning is your master key, what I mean is that it opens the mental vault that holds your focus, your energy, and your belief. If your first hour is filled with noise notifications, news, negativity, you've already given control to the outside world. But if it's filled with clarity, conviction, and connection, then you're driving the day, not riding it. That difference is everything. The principle is simple but powerful. The first thing you give your attention to is what you give authority to. If God is first, peace comes first. If vision is first, clarity comes first. If growth is first, progress comes first. But if distraction is first, then disorder follows. That's why the first hour of your day is a declaration. It's saying to the universe, to yourself, and to God, I know what I'm about, and I'm here to walk in it. You don't have to control the whole day. But if you can control the first 60 minutes, you've won more than half the battle. Why? Because decisions made early in the day multiply. Your energy multiplies, your focus multiplies, and your output becomes exponential. It's not about being perfect, it's about being principled, and principles don't change based on feelings. Whether you're tired or energized, rich or broke, motivated or not, structure remains, and your structure shapes your success. So, if you're wondering why your life isn't shifting, don't look at your talent first. Don't look at your goals first. Look at your morning, because how you start determines how you finish. The morning is not just a moment. It's your master key. Use it well, and you unlock everything else. Rituals over randomness. That's one of the greatest wealth principles most people never get taught. Let me break it down for you. Life doesn't reward chaos. Life rewards consistency. The people who win, who grow, who build legacy and income. They're not doing random things hoping for structured results. They build rituals. And a ritual, unlike a routine, isn't something you do just to check a box. A ritual is something you do with meaning and mastery. It's repeated behavior backed by belief. That's why rituals have the power to shape your results. Randomness is when you wake up and let life tell you what to do. You scroll your phone, respond to texts, check emails. You're reacting, and reaction mode is survival mode. It's where most people live, but success lives in creation mode. That means you get up and you already know what matters. You've already decided what your priorities are. You're not reacting to problems. You're advancing toward purpose. And that only happens when you replace randomness with ritual. Think about a musician. They don't walk into a concert and start randomly hitting keys. No, they rehearse, they warm up, they follow a system. Why? Because they understand that skill without rhythm is noise. The same is true in your life. You might have talent, you might even have vision, but without rhythm, without structure, without ritual, it's all noise, it's movement without meaning, and movement without direction just wears you out instead of lifting you up. Now let's take this even deeper. Rituals are not just about tasks. They are about identity. What you do repeatedly becomes who you are. If you wake up every day and pray, plan, and pursue your purpose, you're not just doing activities. You're becoming a person of discipline, faith, and direction. But if you wake up and do whatever you feel like doing, you're training your brain to value comfort over calling, and comfort is the enemy of progress. You want to succeed? Then you've got to build rituals that lead to results. For example, make gratitude your first thought. Not just when you feel thankful, but as a ritual. Make reviewing your goals a habit. Not just when you're motivated, but as a discipline. Make reading, reflecting, and planning a non-negotiable, not just when it's convenient, but as part of your daily rhythm. That's where transformation happens. That's where wealth building begins. And here's the final truth. Rituals compound. When you do the right things over and over, even when you don't feel like it, the results begin to multiply. Discipline builds identity. Identity builds confidence. Confidence builds momentum. And momentum builds destiny. All of that comes from choosing rituals over randomness. So if you're tired of unpredictable results, stop living with unpredictable habits. You want predictable income. Build predictable actions. You want divine breakthroughs. Build divine patterns. Your rituals are either reinforcing your results or your regrets. Choose wisely. Before you move your body, you need to move your mind. That's not just a motivational line. It's a foundational truth for anyone trying to elevate their life, business, or calling. One of the biggest mistakes people make is they think productivity starts with doing. But real productivity starts with being, and being begins in the mind. What you think determines how you feel. How you feel influences what you do. So if your thoughts are cluttered, your actions will be scattered. If your mind is chaotic, your movements will be unproductive. The most powerful people in the world are not the ones who move fast. They're the ones who move with clarity. And clarity comes from alignment. That's why, before you move into your day physically, before the calls, the meetings, the emails, the grind, you've got to take time to align your mind with your vision, your values, and your God-given purpose. Because when the mind is focused, the body becomes a tool of execution. But when the mind is unfocused, the body becomes a tool of distraction. There's a reason why Scripture says, "Be transformed by the renewing of your mind," because everything starts there. You don't get breakthrough by working harder while thinking the same. You get breakthrough when your thoughts rise to match the level of your destiny. That's why successful people don't just feed their bodies, they feed their minds. Every morning, with intention, with direction, with discipline. This is why it's so important to start your day with mental preparation. Meditation, prayer, affirmations, visualization. These aren't just trendy techniques. They're tools of transformation. When you start your day speaking life over your situation, reviewing your goals, thanking God for what you have, and visualizing where you're going, you're not just hoping for a better day. You're engineering it. When I work with entrepreneurs, one of the first things I ask them is, what do you do in the first 15 minutes of your day? Because I can predict their productivity, income, and influence based on their answer. If you're feeding your mind with negativity, fear, or distraction first thing in the morning, you're already giving your power away. But if you start with intention, you reclaim control. You set the tone. You command the day instead of reacting to it, and don't forget, your mind is your command center. It tells your emotions where to go. It tells your decisions how to align. It tells your body what kind of energy to generate. That's why if your mind isn't in order, your movements won't matter. You'll be busy, but not effective, tired, but not progressing, moving, but not advancing. So hear me clearly. Don't let the day move you until you've moved your mind. Make it a priority, make it a ritual, make it a lifestyle. Because the most powerful movements in your life will always start with the most intentional mental shifts. Master the mind and the movement will follow. Every time, the law of first fruits doesn't just apply to money, it applies to time, and most people miss this. We're taught to give God the first portion of our income, the best of our harvest, the top of our resources, but we forget that time is one of our most valuable currency. If you want to live a life of favor, clarity, and divine alignment, you must learn to honor God and purpose with the first moments of your day. What you do with the first hour is a prophetic preview of what you'll experience in the rest of your day. See, when you give God the first, you are not losing time. You are multiplying time. You're telling heaven, I trust you more than I trust my calendar. I trust purpose more than pressure. That's a faith move, and faith always gets rewarded. Too many people rush into their days with anxiety, urgency, and chaos. They say, I don't have time to slow down, but let me tell you something. You don't have time not to, because the more frantic your start, the more fragile your focus. And fragile focus can't carry the weight of destiny. The law of first fruits teaches us that what you do first has the power to bless everything that comes after. That means if you wake up and pour into your spirit first, prayer, reflection, vision, it doesn't just affect that moment. It flows into your meetings, your relationships, your mindset, and your decisions. You might still have problems during the day, but now you're anchored. Now you're centered. Now you're spiritually aligned. And that's a level of power that hustle can never replace. Some people think this is about religion. No, it's about revelation. It's about understanding the spiritual principle that what you prioritize becomes what you prosper in. When you prioritize distractions, you multiply confusion. When you prioritize God, you multiply grace. When you prioritize purpose, you multiply productivity. This is not superstition. This is structure, and structure is how heaven builds. Now, let's go deeper. When you give your time as a first fruit, you're training your mind to live by design, not by default. You're not waking up just to survive. You're waking up to serve, to build, to dominate in your lane of purpose. This is a covenant act. It's you saying, before I do anything else today, I recognize where my strength, wisdom, and direction come from. That posture of humility attracts favor. That posture attracts clarity. That posture unlocks divine acceleration. So what do you do with your first hour? That's the question. Because every day you are sowing something. The question is, are you sowing what you want to reap? Don't just start with to-do lists. Start with truth. Start with alignment. Start with God. Start with vision. Because if the root is right, the fruit will follow. Give your time like you give your tithe. Intentionally, joyfully, and with faith that the rest will be blessed. That's how you honor the law of first fruits with your time. And that's how you activate divine results in your day. Momentum is not magic. It's math. It's movement multiplied by meaning and multiplied by morning mastery. When we talk about momentum, we're talking about that powerful force that makes everything feel easier, faster, more aligned. But what most people don't realize is that momentum doesn't show up on its own. You have to build it. And the place you start building it is in the morning. That first hour of your day is not just a warm-up, it's the ignition switch. If you ignite your day right, you won't just walk through it. You'll accelerate through it. Morning routines multiply momentum because they allow you to win early. And when you win early, you stack victories. Think of it like this. If you knock out 3 intentional, purpose-driven actions before 8 a.m., like reading, praying, reviewing your goals, or exercising, you've already created a sense of progress, and progress is powerful. It creates emotional energy. It creates mental clarity. It gives you the feeling that you're in control. And people who feel in control of their day make better decisions, take more consistent action, and respond with purpose instead of panic. Here's the truth, momentum is fragile in the beginning. That's why the morning is so important. If you start your day with disorder, distractions, and doubt, you've already created a friction-filled atmosphere. You'll feel behind before you even begin. But if you start your day with focus, structure, and spirit, you create alignment. And alignment eliminates resistance. It makes the work feel lighter, not because it's easier, but because you're stronger. When I coach people in business or purpose, one of the first things I help them implement is a customized morning routine. Why? Because you can't build long-term momentum on short-term motivation. You need rhythm. You need consistency, and the morning is the most controllable part of your day. Once you hit noon, anything can happen. Emergencies, distractions, delays. But that first hour, that's your territory. That's your training ground. That's where champions are built. When your morning is aligned, your day is not just productive. It's profitable because you're operating from peace, not pressure. You're acting from intention, not impulse. You're executing from a place of clarity, not confusion. And that level of execution creates results that multiply. A focused morning leads to a powerful day. A series of powerful days leads to a momentum-filled week. A momentum-filled week becomes a winning month, and winning months become a legacy. It all starts with how you begin. That's why a morning routine isn't just a habit. It's a high-leverage tool. It doesn't take hours. Sometimes 30 minutes of intentional action is enough to activate the mental and spiritual engines that will carry you all day. You don't need perfect mornings. You need purposeful ones. Because when you win your morning, you don't just get a head start. You build unstoppable momentum. And momentum doesn't just help you finish the race. It helps you dominate the field. You don't need more hours in your day. You need more intention in your first hour. Your morning is not just a part of the day. It is the pattern that shapes the rest. It is the seed that determines your harvest. If you want to multiply success, if you want to attract clarity, confidence, and cash flow, you've got to start before the world wakes up. When the noise is low and your spirit is high. Your morning is your master key. It unlocks the gates to productivity, peace, and purpose. Random mornings lead to random outcomes, but rituals lead to results. Your mind must be moved before your feet ever touch the floor. Why? Because a still mind creates strong decisions, and what you do first, with your time, your thoughts, your energy, sets a spiritual law into motion. The law of first fruits applies here. Honor purpose first, and purpose will honor you back. But don't stop there. Understand this. When you commit to a strong morning routine, you're not just creating good days. You're building unstoppable momentum. You're stacking victories. You're multiplying discipline. And discipline compounds into destiny. So no more waking up by default. No more chasing time. From this day forward, you command your morning. You align your mind. You guard your energy. You feed your spirit. You act with clarity. You build momentum like the wealthy do, with discipline, with faith, with structure, because if you can win the morning, you can win the week. And if you can win the week, you can shift your life. The power is already in you. The strategy is now in front of you. All that's left is for you to make the decision. God bless you. Walk in purpose, walk in power, and don't just rise early, rise intentionally.